skills beyond the games.
Yeah.
Which we know are so important. And look, it's 3 of us.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Fun. Oh, and I saw you on the Clubhouse.
I was on the Clubhouse today.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
You drank the Clubhouse Kool-Aid?
Yes, because it's on Android, and I did do what is it called? Greenhouse or whatever, the Spotify version of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure about that one yet. It's still. I got on my soapbox about the whole inclusivity thing about Clubhouse, and then there's that Spotify has this version, and you have to do something like that. So I got on my big kick about this inclusivity when joining stuff. So that's another topic for another day.
Well, we have one to talk. We have one to talk about tonight. Shall I hit the button?
Yes. Hit the button.
Thank you, Bradford. You're driving the ship, so.
I don't have the button. I don't have the power.
I know.
I have the power?
You have the button to tell me to push the button.
Push the button. All right. Welcome. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday. The Academy Esports. I am Bradford Harris.
No, this is not the Academy of Esports.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. See, okay. Sorry. Well, I'm looking at you, and I think Academy of Esports. I've been on esports and curriculum writing all day, you guys. I'm sorry. This is Esports EDU on Twitch, everybody, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or whatever social media channel that makes you happy. Okay,
or not happy.
Or not. Well, you're here on Esports EDU, so that should make you happy. I am Bradford at Tinker on Twitter. I am a NASEF Scholastic Fellow. Maybe I will be a mentor. Who knows? I am also a coordinator of digital innovation in Aldine IC in Houston. And to my, I don't know which way this is. This is my left, I guess, right? I'm not good with that.
Right
here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie. I go by Chakmaju on Twitter. I am the communication specialist for Snow Bright Studio and Liminal Esports and the editor of the K-12 Esports News website.
All right. And now down below, we got...
Hi, everybody. I'm James O'Hagan. I'm host of the Academy of Esports podcast, and I'm also the Director of Digital and Virtual Learning for the Racine Unified School District, and also tech support this summer for our summer school programming. So that's been thankfully quiet this year.
That's nice.
Yes. And meeting new students who are going to be moving over to my virtual program in the fall.
Awesome.
All right.
Oh,
Tech support has been quiet. You know what? It has been quiet this summer. I haven't heard anything about tech support. I guess because everybody has been in the space.
That's
not our topic tonight. But
if either of you feel bored, I have a keyboard that's stuck in pairing and will not actually pair. So, you know.
Can't you just unplug? Can't you take the batteries out? Or?
No, and I've unplugged it, but apparently I have to wait for its internal whatever to die because it's just been sitting here vibing at me for like 4 days now, completely unplugged with no batteries. Yeah, it's fun.
And yet still, so you basically have created energy without energy.
Yeah, I don't really understand what's happening with it. I just know that it keeps flashing Q and all of its lovely little LEDs are just having a little rave.
Fair enough.
But fun times. I have a possessed keyboard
stuff there. Maybe put some holy water on it. Call the people from The Conjuring.
Oh, and I wish I had to show you all the rings that we got our students, but I don't have mine yet because we haven't given them to our students. But yes, our statewide Super Smash Brothers Championship rings came in. They look amazing.
Awesome.
They look amazing, and I don't have one to show. And I was hoping Chris Turner would be here tonight to show up, because I'm sure once I started showing mine, he started flexing his. So those are so much fun though. For the kids are so excited to get them. I can't wait and then I can't wait to walk around town with mine, because it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculously huge on my finger, because my fingers it's made for my hand, so it's just going to look obnoxious.
It'll be great. You'll just be constantly being like, oh, what,
yeah.
what?
Maybe I'll wear it as a pinky ring, just kind of.
I know.
All right. So you know what? We do have a couple of things to talk about on top of the topic that you gave me, but it does. I forgot to tell you before we start. It does align to what I want to talk about tonight. First things first. Do we want to share the screen or just get started with it?
Oh wait, hold on. Here he comes. He must have heard me say his name.
I was gonna
flexing
say,
the ring.
He's a busy man. You gotta catch him.
That's an understatement. I need a clone.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Doing okay.
It's Thursday.
It's almost Friday.
You get to introduce yourself. We were just going through introductions.
Yeah, that's fine. Christopher Turner, head coach and GM at Southern University Laboratory School, creator of a Go Play Esports podcast, GM and founder of NBA 2K League Pro-Am League for High School Esports League. And did I miss anything, James? I probably did, but I never will cover all the titles, and it doesn't mean anything anyway.
Let's see.
Graphic
design specialist.
Man, I need 2 clones.
Yeah.
You know what? There goes another topic that we probably need to put on there. All 4 of us have not just one title. We have several that go under this ecosystem that we call esports. So there's not, I need this one person to do X. That just doesn't happen in this position. It's a lot.
And it's interesting because I feel like people do expect you to fit like one little niche. And it's like, yeah, no. Like, and maybe
yeah.
Go
ahead, Carrie, sorry.
No, you're laughing because why?
No, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just thinking back to that. Everybody ever watching Living Color in the 90s?
Yes.
And they had that skit where it was like the Caribbean family, and they were like, how many jobs do you have?
I still say that.
Yeah.
You that Jamaican teacher.
You have one job?
Oh,
yeah.
man.
We're all everywhere.
Yeah.
No. I'll share the screen. I don't know if I can. I have. You gave me rights, right?
Yeah.
Do you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, that is just the.
I mean,
it's flickering. Oh, it's flickering. We can do that.
Oh wow, it's disco news.
It's disco news. So I won't share because I'll probably get a heart attack. But we'll, James, if you could put it in the chat.
You want me to share the story?
Yeah, go ahead and share it. Okay. The deadly serious world of esports in South Korea. Now, I skimmed the article. There's a lot to unpack in that article. A whole lot. We're talking about, I even hate to say, game addiction, because that for me sometimes that can be a dirty word because my game addiction. But this does touch on it. This also does touch on the fact that what are we doing to make education better for the students, and also esports in general, making sure that that's important too. What I was really, even though I skimmed it, I was really intrigued by the fact that, number one, that how passionate, even though yes it does say deadly, how really dedicated these kids are with this and how serious this is, but also the fact that there are people coming in to make sure that these kids are successful in their education, but also they're still successful in the professional of esports. But then when you look over here, I feel like we're still trying to figure out what that is. So that was my take on it. So I just kind of want to hear what y'all's thoughts are on that.
Well, unfortunately, as we found out, and I forget all the time, that the New York Times has a paywall. So I'll start, we'll find ways.
I skimmed the PDF that Sam slipped me underneath the table.
Okay. Well,
sorry, New York Times.
We'll make sure that, I like that Fiona is noting that the New York Times is not using the appropriate use of esports in their story.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. But here's what I think is very big in the messaging in this story is that South Korea, of course, is I guess you could say, the birthplace of the esports phenomenon in the world. What? Why are you laughing?
Nothing. I threw Sam under a hypothetical bus, and she is rerouting said bus. We're good.
But
no culpability.
To me, I looked at this through the lens of what lessons can we take from this? Because again, South Korea has been the hub of esports, and it is, according to the story, one of the top. It's the 5th most popular job for kids in the country, but there's only about 200 of those jobs in South Korea, of the top level players. And what's happening is that some of these kids are not finishing high school because they're so hyper focused on gaming. And then there's no collegiate program for them. There's no GED. There's nothing. So they're basically getting stuck in what do we do next? Which again, for us, and here's the thing that I want to juxtapose this against, in that I heard of a recent school in my area, I'm not going to say which one, that during the pandemic adopted esports. They put no money behind it. They put no dollars into equipment. They didn't even fund they paid for Playverses, but didn't even use district funds. They used somebody's parent to pay for the program. And I looked at it when I went, oh my gosh, they have no plan. They're doing nothing. And there's going to be kids. I'm not saying that they're going to have kids who want to go pro or are going to drop out of school. Mm-hmm. But this rushed implementation, especially during the pandemic, and now people are coming out of the pandemic, and we're going to be going back into buildings. And what is going to be the expectation then for these people when they get back to their esports programs in their high schools? Because what's happening here, what's great about this program that's going on, Gen G has put together an academy in South Korea to help these kids to teach them English, help them with SAT prep, and get them into a college that is going to be recruiting them for, and international students pay a premium usually when they go to an American university. So they're setting up a pipeline to get these kids over to the United States. But what are we doing for our kids here to make sure that when we're focusing on this, that we are not just focusing on gameplay, that we're focusing on everything around this. So that, and again, like what Chris does, what Carrie, we talk about, what Bradford, you talk about, what I do in my program. We can't have these one-dimensional programs and expect it to be sustainable.
And I feel like we have a lot of one-dimensional programs. And I feel the more and more like that I run into people.
Where are the sound effects?
On like Discord and Twitter. It's like, well, it has to be like this. And what they're pushing is that really hardcore varsity sort of like semi-pro level experience. And like we've seen what it has done to college football players, even at like a JUCO level. Like it burns them up. It spits them out. They don't always graduate with a degree. Oftentimes, even trying to get that degree is hard. Some of those degrees are really hollow. I feel like we already have that push to sort of be that, like, and that's dangerous because any type of athletic so far, your longevity in the field is generally short. There are some people that just blow your mind and you're like, how are you still on the court, hustling the way you are? And kudos to those people, but that's not the norm. Your norm is a couple years. There's guys that break their back to be picked up on pros and get spit out 6 months later, and never have actually been on the field for a major league game. Esports is already starting to look much the same. You've got kids that are medically tapping out because of mental health issues, because they're completely damaging, their wrists, their elbows, their necks, their eyes. We are already creating that same like meat factory sort of dynamic, I think, with esports that you see in other sports. And I think it's really dangerous. You've got a lot of people that make it to pro, and then when they bounce out, they're broke. Like we don't have the training on fiscal responsibility, and a lot of them don't necessarily have the skills to be able to transition to something else. Some of them do, and you'll see them as casters, or maybe they go into coaching, but that's still a really limited number, for the mass amount that are pushing into pros across the country. And I feel like we sit at a really unique spot because there are so many different positions that are available within the esports and gaming industry that if we are not prepping our kids every step of the way for their plan B and plan C, we're failing them, because the chance of them getting to a pro level is small. The chance of them getting a full ride scholarship to a university, also not really that great. Like we've got to look at the reality of how many spaces are really available at the top, and be able to build people up to have those positions that are supporting, that aren't, that pro level. Unfortunately, that's not flashy, and that's not what a lot of people are pitching towards, though.
And the other thing that story points out too is that these kids who are coming from these South Korean programs aren't even they're game focused. And here's how serious we're talking about game focus. We're talking about they have homework to complete before they play their games, about strategy, around studying everything in there. But then if they deviate from the plan, if they go off the reservation, if they have a bad day or whatever, that could mean them being removed from their teams. That's how.
Yeah, they're very serious. It's very cutthroat. I saw that.
Yeah, we don't. If our kids have a bad day, thankfully, and again, Carrie, you talked about mental health a little bit. We're in a better position to talk to our kids about those things. We're in a position to go to those kids and be understanding, I should think. So
we're educators. We should be.
Yeah. And as Fiona asked, is there any minimum GPA qualification? No, these are private teams sometimes. When I say that they're quitting high school, these teams are not existing in their high schools. These are existing as clubs, and
I think you have to paint the picture too, James.
Did we just
you're slowing up a little bit.
Over in that esports team, like their professional players are hopping off of jets and being, ran up on like the LeBron James.
Yeah,
that's the type of environment that these kids are in.
It's celebrity level. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's celebrity level.
Yeah, well, when you only have about 200 positions in the whole country, I mean, those are harder numbers than, or probably
NFL.
I would say it's probably NFL level numbers.
Yeah.
Like if you make it into the pros there, you've made it into the NFL here, kind of ratios.
Which they're not good ratios. Your chances of making pro are small. And I mean, I think even to some extent you see that in content creation. Like I would have students that'd be like, well, I want to be big. Well, what do you want to be like? And the names they're knocking off aren't, the middle ground Twitch streamer that's paying their bills and living semi-comfortably. They're talking about the ballers that are raking in the money and are appearing on TV and are getting movie gigs. We don't promote a realistic view of what being in this industry is. And I think until we really start pushing that, we're potentially setting our kids up for failure. We're not giving them attainable goals to shoot for. We're giving them the sun and saying, hey, yeah, go build your rocket. It'll be fine.
And they don't realize.
Go ahead, Bradford.
I was going to say, they don't realize how much work it. I told this to my trainer the other day. They don't realize, even though that YouTuber or whatever is corny and stupid and whack. It takes a lot to do that corny and stupid and whack show. Like, you don't just get up and just pull out your phone and just. Some do, yes, and they make a lot, but some they plan that stuff out. And if you're not that type of person that is a planner and has a production crew and does all that stuff, if that's not you, and you're not used to, hey, I gotta crank this out 1 to 2 times a week, you're not gonna rake it in. You're not gonna rake it in. So if you're not, and that's okay. If you're not that type of person that's gonna do that, then you're gonna have to find something else to fall back on.
Yeah. And I think, just as a culture, just as America, I think this is like the American dream on steroids. And we've been doing this since the beginning of the god doggone, union. And so, you look at any other sport, it's the same thing. It's I've said this off air, and this is my first time saying it on air. But esports is going to be another form of, like, you have like Pop Warner football, you have AAU, you have people getting into esports like YMCA now and recreation centers. I mean, it's just going to be a monopoly of chasing that 1% dream.
Yep.
And it's sad, but it's been done countless times in our culture and history. So, us as educators, we have to change the narrative within our programs. But the narrative, I think, nationwide is going to be that. They're going to look at it as just a competition sport, and they're going to push that to everybody, and every kid is going to want to follow that dream.
Yeah, I agree. And I think part of the reason that I get so uncomfortable when I run into, people that are just pushing that, esports, like we've got, and even like we got to differentiate between what's like a real esport and what's not, is it's pushing a narrative that is very narrow focused, and often isn't presenting, that very real view and those other options and the skills that people are going to need to be able to stay in an industry that they're most likely not going to be the 1% in. It's challenging because a lot of people are buying into that, as you said, like that American dream of celebrity sort of status, success. And I mean,
it's gonna be toxic. It's gonna be toxic. I mean, I think we're gonna have to deal with good and bad in whatever we produce, to the world. But at the same token, we have to change the narrative as much as we can and put our good foot forward. So I'm optimistic, but I mean, people have to realize too, this gaming industry, man, it's the biggest form of entertainment in the world.
Yeah.
And so if football and basketball and soccer and all that was bad, you're talking about a world storm. It's going to get really bad before it's over.
Well, I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, nobody was really in the education world. Nobody was looking at this. They pushed it off and they dismissed it.
I was too, James.
But we were the weird people 3 years ago.
Yeah,
we were the weird people.
Yeah, we
but now let's just keep it real. Administrators are dealing with the issue of we don't have students coming to school. We don't. What are we going to do? We need engagement. We need numbers. I've heard it being said. I've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Esports. What about that? How can we can get more people in with esports? Okay, so now you're ready to have a conversation. We need them in. We need them in. What can we do? What can we do? Bradford, you're the expert, or people. What can we do? What can we do? As excited as I am that now you're ready to talk, you now have to go, okay, now why do you want to talk? It's because the numbers are low. I mean, what do you really want to do? Well, we just want to get them in. We just want to get them in. Okay, now let's talk about what's the plan? How do you want to do this?
I think it's interesting because, I know a lot of us have seen an uptick in information being gathered and distributed by people that aren't in the industry. You're seeing, we've got more and more conferences being put on. Like, I think we started to see that at the beginning of the pandemic, people that weren't in esports were sort of coming together and like, we're going to put this on, and this is going to be a place for people to learn about esports. And the really good groups, they at least they attach themselves to people who do know what they're doing, and they stop and they listen when someone's like, hey, did you think about this? And they go back and they replan. And I know we've seen organizations that do that, but we've also seen organizations that are like, nope, we're going to be the go-to, and they just rush ahead with a few very enthusiastic voices, and it ends up being extremely problematic. I think for educators, we need to be the slow down voice. We need to be the voice of reason. We need to be the voice of just diversity, not only in the people that are present, but in our programs and what we're offering and what we're teaching. If we get caught up in that race to the top and we don't like check people, it's going to be an empty, hollow view at the top of the mountain. It's going to be muddled in fog and dead bodies.
And we're seeing it, you want to talk about just the experience alone. I mean, before we even get to that, and I want to speak to two things I saw. One was Fiona very carefully pointing out about the issue of digital poverty and the divide, and again, how easy it's going to be for us to potentially leave people behind. And again, the reason why I say esports is a social justice and an equity issue is because of the collegiate scholarship opportunities and the job opportunities that are there for students. But, Sam makes a great point of the fault of enriching esports is when nurture is pushed to the point of exploitation. Mm-hmm. And again, reflecting on what I heard the other night when I was listening to this school in Milwaukee talking about their experience. It wasn't George Walker's school, so I know I've only talked about one school, but it wasn't George's school. But talking about their experience and the way that they got to the playoffs in their first year, right? Pandemic, you think like, oh, this is fantastic first year. It was because of forfeits. They had so many forfeits, which tells you what? That a bunch of people paid their money and nobody could sustain it. So what do you have then going on if you have these people just paying $500, not able to sustain a program, not able to keep it going for an entire year? You have this is potentially, again, the issue that I talk about where I say this is a Fabergé egg. What we're holding right now in our hands, we know is fragile. It's not necessarily sustainable. It's still going to have people who are naysayers. We have to take care of this thing. Yep. And when we hear of schools in our area who are getting into this and maybe aren't prepared, we have to be almost comfortable to say, you know what? Let us help you. That's why I love the state associations. Yeah. That's why the other day when I had a talk with ESC 16 out in Amarillo, and I said, they didn't know this. I said, you have one of the best state associations right there in Texas. I said, here's the president of the association. Talk to her. Have a conversation with her. Find out what they're doing. Because that's the only way we're going to grow this sustainably and successfully is when, again, us as state associations, the nonprofits, the educators get together and say, here's how we're doing it right now. If you want to use Playversus, you want to use HSEL, you want to pay for a platform after the fact, go right ahead. But we'll still be here to support you. We can't... Just because they choose a Playversus or they choose an HSEL, they choose what other platform they want to be on, doesn't mean we have to then turn our backs to them and say, sorry, we won't help you anymore.
We won't help you, yeah. Right. Because they're still not going to get the resources even if they go with their platforms anyway.
Yeah, they're still...
Yeah.
So,
it's and I think the other thing too is I know that even on the people that are here on this panel, like when people reach out to us to ask us information about, the industry or to potentially be on panels or to be speakers, I know like each of us generally have other people that we know we could pull in. So if we know we're in a situation that feels like it's even more fragile than it should be, like, oh, hey, did you reach out to this person? You should reach out to that person. Have you thought about this? You should reach out to them.
Yeah.
So I think, we got to keep doing stuff like that. Like we need to be able to help people, but we also need to be able to be like, you need to go that way because that person over there is the one you need to talk to on that.
And then I'm going to lean on Bradford. Bradford, can you come up with something that can scan my brain and come out with like a 200-page document where I can just say, here you go? You're looking at me, like, what?
No problem. Let me get on that. Right now. 200 pay shot.
Let's talk real dollars here, okay? Now, I know Chris, you and I are the ones who currently have established programs.
Sure.
My budget for my 5 programs, again, my budget for my 5 programs, and again, this is 12 staff who are paid. Plus, we still have budget set aside for rental of a facility because we're not doing it in-house. We're trying to rent space out. Plus jerseys, plus potential bus because we state championships. I put budget in for rings. Yeah. It's $100,000 plus a year. I mean, and that's several years of building this up. Now, Chris, I know yours is funded. Well, again, but most of my money goes to staff. Yeah. That's what most of my money goes to. The bulk of my funds go to staff, and it goes to facilities rental. Yeah. I mean, if I was trying to build buy all the PCs and everything, we would make that a sunk cost. But I mean, that's the reality of this too, people, is that you have to think about, it's cool, $500, you got it from somebody's mom, but $500 doesn't, unfortunately, it doesn't sustain it.
Yeah. And let's make this clear, James. You're in a blessed position to have that $100,000 budget, but that budget.
But yes, blessed I am. But it's a budget. My school district budget is $300 million a year. So
I understand in the grand scheme of things, and that's what I was. That's what I was about to say. That $100,000 is a drop in the bucket. That's a starter point for an esports program.
But James, what I was gonna say is, I mean, I'm not in that boat yet. But how long did it take you to get to that point to where I need $100,000? Because that's the real right there.
So we started with I think it was a $17,000 grant, and then I shifted it to using what's called our community funds. Our community, which it wasn't funded by the school district because it was a new program. And so we paid for it that way. And I didn't get actual district funds until 2 years ago. So I'm going in my 3rd year of actual district funds.
So that's the reality. So I don't know if listeners, you hearing that.
That's worth the hand clap, though.
Right. So listeners,
in the face of 8-digit budget deficits every year that I ask for money.
That's
there you go. So I know viewers, listeners, I don't know if you heard that. So basically, he didn't have no money. I need for y'all to watch my. He didn't have no money. When he went, and I'm putting words into his mouth. When he went and said, "I want to do esports," they said, "I wish you the best of luck. I'm not giving you no money." Yeah. So when he says, "I got 100,000," he had to work for that. He had to work for. I'm sorry, if I'm
the finance department hates me. The finance department absolutely hates me.
So did y'all hear what he said? Finance did not like him. They did not like him. So in our area, and Chris, I don't know your story, but this is what's real.
I'll tell it after you finish.
This is what's real. Yeah. You're gonna walk up to somebody and say, "I want to do esports," and they're gonna look at you like, "I really wish you the best of luck. Go ahead and make that grant because I'm not giving you no money. I'm not giving you no computers. I wish you the best of luck." That it's not gonna happen until somebody from across another district wants to do the same thing, and then they say, "Okay, we're gonna give you something, but it's not gonna be what you're gonna get." You have to have a plan. Sorry, Chris, that's my soapbox.
Yeah, man. Look at how many people in the industry don't get paid for their work in esports. You get paid for your teaching position. You don't get anything for.
I mean, a similar story to James. I mean, mine has yet to, get to a point of a budget. But I started with a $10,000 grant. My whole esports facility was me getting on the phone during COVID and taking 100 no's for like 5 yeses. Mm-hmm. And so, and then now I'm building on the collegiate side of things this summer, and it's the same thing. It's like, I have to depend on my foundation at my college to say, hey, we're gonna help. The law, which is crazy. I'm saying it's crazy, but I absolutely love the law center that supported our system because they've wrapped their arms around esports and they're going to support it when student affairs or athletics didn't want anything to do with it. And so, I have yet to get to the conversation about me actually having a budget and me actually getting paid for what I'm doing though.
Yeah.
I don't get mad though at people who say no. Okay.
No,
Right,
you don't.
right, you know.
And you can't. Here's the thing: you can't get mad at those people because again, this is Fabergé egg. Right? You hold it, you show it off. It's pretty, right? But that doesn't mean everybody sees the beauty right away. You have to be able to. And this goes back to. And people say, "Well, James, how did you get it done?" This goes back to even when I was a tech director, some skills that you just have to develop of finding those people who are the most. This is what I used to do. I would find the people who are most against change, the people who are most against technology, the people who complain like, "Oh, this is another thing." I would say, "Okay, tell me about your school day," right? Start developing relationships with them. And yes, it's work, and yes, it's time, and yes, it's conversations. But guess what? In some school districts, this is where that happens. Tell me about your school day. How are you using technology, or what are some of the things that you wish you could do better? And then start to, drip in this is how I could help you with this project. I can help you with this thing. I can teach you to do this. It's almost the same kind of thing where, for me, the clicking moment was when I finally figured out, hey, my school district has all these strategic goals. Every school has strategic goals. Yeah. I can use these strategic goals to speak the language that principals want to hear. I can speak the language that the superintendent of the school board wants to hear. When you start doing that, now it starts to engage the conversation at a level that they start to understand.
Yeah, I'm going to get you on air saying that you said that, during the summer we could take a deep dive and look at my strategic goals at my university and you're going to help. So I'll call you next week and start. But, the same token too, it's, like you said, you don't get mad at the no's, but at some point, everybody's not in the same position as James where he's not in the classroom. You have to find a champion to push that initiative for you. And so I know that was going to be the next comment for teachers that are in the classroom. Well, I'm not able to go around and talk. My Chancellor Pierre DeLawson has been a champion for me as far as university conversation. And so, and his staff. And so, just kudos to people like that see the balance and like the forethought of what esports could be, and just build your little team within your organization and just push it forward.
That you have to have those champions, and as Fiona starts to talk about too, man, none of us, even me included, have not even remotely started to get the best resource that we can in any school district. It is the parents, because man, I don't know how I don't know. Every school district I've ever been in, you get a group of unruly parents. Not saying you have to be unruly, but
but they move the mark.
Let's call it intense advocate parents.
Yeah, yep.
Parents who advocate for their kids.
Let me write that down.
And say, you know what? You want us to support your referendum. We want support for our kids. This is what our kids love to do. Hey, you need our help with it. And yes, even though my school district is not the richest school district, where our community is not the richest, there are still parents who can fundraise and who are happy to give and who want to see their kids have a quality experience in their public school. They don't want to have to go outside the public school to a private or wherever.
Right.
They want to see it in their public school. So,
it's just like, traditional sports. For a lot of kids, it's the first thing that consumes them. It can be the first thing that they're really passionate about. It can be the first thing that gives them an avenue out of where they are. And, as a parent, especially if you're living in an area that can eat children, so to speak, there are places, the communities, there are certain communities that, if you don't get out of it, your prospects are.
She's talking about the ghettos of America, James.
Oh, yes.
And you find those everywhere. Like one tour through my Facebook can tell you that where I came from, a lot of people that didn't get out, they haven't gone anywhere. Because they
live in Marin County.
No, they don't. They don't live from Marin County.
But on the flip side of that, though, Carrie, I'm in Louisiana. You have like North and Mid Louisiana where it's so rural, they don't have access to 5G.
No, you don't. You don't.
Let alone Wi-Fi.
But what I was saying is more is that, like, for parents that are in a situation where all of a sudden your kid has a passion, it's keeping them busy, they're not getting into trouble, and it potentially gives them a way to get to the next step. Mm-hmm. You're going to find a lot of parents are going to get really invested in that, and they're really going to support that because it's a way up, it's a way higher, and it's something that's keeping their children safe. And that's relevant for a lot of communities across the nation. I wish rural communities had more access to the 5G because, there's a lot of areas that have really, really rough issues, with the opioid crisis. And, if kids had something to connect to them to give them passion and to take up their time, that's potentially that many more children that aren't going to fall down that particular rabbit hole. Like there are a lot of things that we're not a nation of a few problems. And the more opportunities we can give our children to find something and find a community, that goes a long way to keeping them healthier longer and giving them more potential for their futures.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to downplay your Marin experience.
I'm not from Marin!
Oh, is it Sonoma County?
Yeah.
Oh, Sonoma. Sorry, Sonoma.
Yeah.
But
sorry, it's like Oakland and San Francisco. It's not.
I see
that divides a lot deeper. But
I see my friend Chris. Jen, I gotta mention Chris for a second because he's in the Twitch chat. He was saying that videos kept him out of trouble, and for a lot of us, like I'm out of the ghetto and the hood that we call it, and so like for us, it was that hey, we get to stay inside, be safe.
Yep.
And for a lot of minorities and African Americans in the country, that's what we thought games was. It was an outlet to be safe. It wasn't a career goal or being a part of the industry. And I think, more than accessibility, and I want Bradford to kind of speak on this, is more of a mindset of, games for us were just like a safe zone or outlet, from being stressed out throughout the day. We never looked at it in that standpoint. Yeah. And so I just wanted to kind of implement on what Chris was saying on Twitch.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Because like even where I was from, like everyone I knew, it was drugs. Like there was a big issue with drugs starting in middle school, and if you had something like the people that didn't fall into that were the people that were in sports, the people that had they were in music, they were in theater, they had something that they did after school, they had a community that formed around it. Like my son, I mean he refers to his basketball team like their family, like that has the power to get people through environments around them that are potentially very dangerous.
And now there's hope today in that it looks like the Senate has worked with President Biden to figure out a deal on the infrastructure, which includes expansion of broadband into rural areas.
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
So, I know that when I lived out in the country and all I could get was 3G service, I'm like, and everybody else was on 4G, at the time. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like my cell phone is, and I had come from a 4G area around Chicago to live in a 3G area. And like, I remember just trying to get the broadband and calling up the local cable company. They're like, yeah, no, you're a mile and a half from the nearest point.
Yeah.
And like, what do I do? And they said, we don't know. Click.
Yeah.
You know how real it's about to get though, James. So I'm cheap. I'm letting everybody know that's watching that. I'm cheap. I don't like to buy stuff. So I get a text message to my phone the other day, and my provider said, "Hey, Chris, you need to get a new phone because your phone is not going to be supported by 5G starting in January." And I was like, how many kids in America that have cell phones that's not going to be supported by 5G in the next 6 to 8 months?
Yeah, when they roll it out in their area.
When they roll it out, yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's.
I was going to tack on to what Chris was talking about. I remember just even as a kid, whenever a child, at least in my neighborhood, whenever that child got a console, that was a community event. So not everybody had the console, not everybody had the game, but
that house was packed.
the house was packed, and you knew that you were going to. You didn't know where your child was. You knew your child was at Chris's house.
Yep.
Because Chris had the Xbox. So if the child wasn't roaming around the streets,
they know that PlayStation, bro.
Oh, okay. You had a PlayStation. Okay. Well, the PlayStation. But the parents knew where you were. It was always like a Friday night, Thursday night, Saturday night. That's where the group was for a couple of hours. I can even flash forward to where I even worked at GameStop, and I just would talk to people all the time when you relied on the Madden to come out. When is that Madden coming out? When is this game coming out? I need this game to come out. And the kids and the moms and dads will come in. They really want this game, and they want their friends to be there. It was a community thing. So they didn't think about esports. They didn't think about getting on the network. They didn't even think about getting online. It was who had the console at the house, who had the game at the house, because that's where we're going. It was about being in the physical space. And now that we were in this digital space, I'm not going to say it's harder. It's just different. And so now everybody's trying to figure out what that is. And now you're having to ask, are you a console person? Are you a PC person? Are you a mobile person? What are you? And so that's a new territory for it's new territory for people who look like me. And now you're trying to fight. Well, now I gotta be in this space where I just wanted to play with Chris, but now I'm not only playing with Chris, I'm playing with James, I'm playing with Karen, I'm playing with everybody. I thought I was gonna be playing with Chris only. So
and that goes back to the mindset, James. I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you talk. But it goes back to the mindset that I was mentioning earlier. That's why like the fighter community is so popular in land-based games. You know what I'm saying? Like even like 2K or Madden is like popular in land-based format, but when you get to the online communities, they're almost obsolete. And
there's power in LAN. Like up until COVID, my house would fairly routinely be completely overrun with boys. And you would have devices plugged into every single outlet that we had. Thankfully, our internet can support it. But you had, people were bringing consoles, people were bringing laptops, people were bringing switches. Like you would just have tech everywhere. And, sometimes they were all playing the same thing. Sometimes they're all playing different things. But the excitement and, the fact that when it was all said and done, like that was like being with the people was what mattered the most. So there's definitely like I feel like we downplay LAN and in sometimes the fighting games and the sport games get sort of downplayed a bit, and it's like, well, they're LAN based. It's like, but that's really powerful. Like there's connection there. There's a different level of connection there that can be a lot deeper and a lot more personal, and it definitely shouldn't be considered anything lesser. Like it.
I've seen it firsthand with, luckily again, our 5 teams all practice together in the same space, right? So when they go head to head, you can feel the energy is different in the room than when they're playing somebody remotely. When we go to the state championships, because honestly, we're not, I don't, again, the energy gets very different when you're at a state championship, when you're playing somebody, especially when it's like a fighting game, like Super Smash Brothers for us. The noise level, the intensity, the people just like getting around you.
Yeah.
When we were doing Overwatch or League of Legends, we had them actually in separate rooms. We didn't put them on stage together. We didn't have, so all that. But the fighting games, oh my gosh, yes, the energy is so different. And you could see those kids who might have been just rock solid all year, fantastic players, get at that different change of pressure, that different change of environment, and all of a sudden the pressure and the stress hits them differently. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think but like you were saying, yes, and as Chris is also putting into the chat here, LAN parties hit different. Yeah. They really do. And even going to somebody's house and playing with somebody in your living room hits different. And it's different than playing a stranger when you can just go, well, when you lose, you're like, well, whatever. And then your friend is taunting you, 2 feet away or whatever it is. Whatever that, what was that phrase? Positive toxicity, which
gosh,
no, it's not positive toxicity. But yeah, those LAN experiences do hit different. And I know, again, here, that's another thing I guess we could say when we look at where are we coming out of COVID. These kids who have been doing these things from home and not actually been together in the same space practicing, that's going to hit different too.
Yeah. I can't wait, man. Like, I'm really excited. Like, I'm ordering 25 extra more chairs for my room next week.
Oh, wow.
Well, and we're starting to see, and Fiona again brings up a point about budgets and the supporting district-wide tech to build up things, and that cities need to start looking at how do we fund and support this. One of our own people here in Racine, DeAndre, has a place called the Main Street Project, or Main Project. Sorry, it's the Main Project on State Street. And DeAndre is opening it up for, basically he wants to try to make his coffee shop into a community center. He does have laptops that he's brought in. He's got the big projectors, where you can project things onto screens. I wouldn't be surprised if, because DeAndre and I think have talked about, doing a 2K tournament at his place, and having kids, because his coffee shop is near one of the poorest areas of Racine. Like, just go walk up the street. I've got students who live up there. It is the poorest area of Racine, some of the highest crime. But to put something like that in that kind of a neighborhood and just say, hey, kids, as you guys were saying, safe place to play. DeAndre's place would be that safe place to play. Not only a safe place to play, but safe place to play with mentorship. If you think about that. About a guy who can say, not only will I let you come here and play games, I'm going to teach you how to strip furniture and rebuild it. We have workout program here. I'm going to work with you on your homework. My mother's a teacher. She'll work with you on your writing. Those are the kind of things, like, again, we can use this as a way to bring kids in. And then once you got them hooked in, what else can you do? What else can you achieve once you got these kids hooked in? Not just playing the games, but DeAndre's showing with his place and his space that he could do, like I said, become a community center that is not, worrying about, state funding or whatever. No, it's his. I go in and buy a coffee, I'm supporting his community center.
Right. Libraries too are another one that we should be helping get set up.
Yeah. And we are, at least in Racine, we are. We just passed a $2 million, our board, thank you, I'm on the board. We just decided to spend $2 million to renovate our upstairs area of our library. And part of that is going to be a revamp of the teen space. That includes gaming space, because we know this is where this is going.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is, just so we all know, it's 7:22.
Yep.
Or for those in California, it's 5:22. Yes.
7:23 then.
It's almost basketball time.
Yes. Oh, yes, you do. So Bradford, you're driving the ship. I'm just giving you the heads up on time.
I appreciate that.
I'd like to give a shout out to AT&T for letting Bradford stay on today.
This episode is sponsored by AT&T because Bradford made it through. I wish I had my sound effects for that, because I lost them all, but dang, that was good.
So full disclosure, I don't think it's AT&T. I think it's my laptop, because I'm on my. I think because I'm on my daughter's. Y'all get ready. I think I had a conversation with my wife. I'm on my daughter's Omen computer.
Ooh.
So that's why you see this lovely artwork right here. This is my daughter. So
is there a push to get you into a computer? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or he may just take
We need to start.
Oh no, my daughter's not having that, because I had to ask her for the password. She's at work right now, and I told my wife, I said, "Oh Jesus, does this mean what I think it means?" And I think it
you
means
gotta get a computer.
Yeah.
Not only a computer, a gaming computer.
Mm-hmm. And here's the great thing.
And that's why I'm like, oh my God.
Get yourself an LLC. Listen to me. Set
Write
yourself
it
up. Absolutely. Set yourself up an LLC for consulting. It becomes then a part of your consulting gig. It becomes part of your podcast or whatever you do. So, Chris, you need something for your podcast. You just go, hey, and that's my LLC. I write off laptop.
Brother, I have 3.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
Just sprinkle it around them.
Yeah. And then and then you get your tax write-offs, and you're like,
put your internet in your business name. Cell phone.
I am so, and I'm
put cell phone.
And it is hurting me because there's nothing wrong with my laptop. I'm gonna make that clear. It's just not pushing the power like I need to push the power.
Yeah.
And Chris Fryer is saying if you need an accountant, he's got
Chris, it's not seriously. My accountant just died, and I just got another one. Chris, if I knew you were an accountant, I would have hired you, man.
Oh, don't announce that on the podcast. All right, IRS. Sorry, come get me.
They'll be all right.
I'm not worried. I'm totally transparent. I'm okay with the IRS.
I mean, I file my taxes every few years like you're supposed to do.
All right, James.
That's what extensions are for, right?
Wait, you mean you have to do it every year?
Yeah, every year.
Wow.
Here we go. I hope you didn't file for a PPE loan, too.
Oh, yeah, and I bought my back with that, and I bought Cuban cigars and suits and a house. Oh my God. Sam goes release the tax records.
Wow. No,
I'm just gonna run for president.
Ooh, Jesus.
Oh man.
And we're gonna get out of this place. Don't you know James? And we're all
Who? Hey?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Carrie has the right answer. Who? Don't know that, James.
I know a lot of
Never. Yeah. Which one? No, don't know that one.
Isn't he on that Esports? No, he's on the Academy of Esports.
Different show. Totally different show.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, final words. I'm gonna go with James.
I have to give it up to DeAndre for what he's doing in the Racine community. Opening up not just opening up a coffee shop, but opening it up in a part of town that needs a positive influence, that needs a positive space. That's not a liquor store, not a that kind of thing. He's doing it right, and he's in there every day, and he's working hard. And like you said, if you're a kid in that area, or any kid for that matter, or anybody in that matter who wants to come in and be a part of something amazing, main project on State Street in Racine is the place. Check out DeAndre Mayfield on Facebook if you haven't, to see what he's got going, because his stuff is amazing.
Carrie.
I can't believe I just said it like that.
So conference season is kicking back up. PAX just announced that PAX West is planning on being a in-person event this fall in September. So as things start to gear back up, I just want to remind people that a lot of conferences and events are not inclusive, especially in regards to people with disabilities. So if you're going to conferences, check in with your friends that are differently abled, because they most definitely have different needs. If you are planning events, check in with people that are differently abled, specifically various different types of disabilities, so you can gauge whether your event is going to be accommodating for them. Events that accommodate for me might not accommodate for others, and vice versa. With my hearing issues, it's been an interesting year digitally, and in-person events can be even more isolating. So definitely, reach out and think about people that everybody that is attending your event, to make sure that your event is going to be something that they can access, that's going to be safe for them, and respectful.
Okay, Chris?
You're muted, Chris.
You're muted.
It was AT&T. They didn't like that jab.
They didn't like the jab. So, so I just plug away. July 14th at 1 p.m. I'm keynote speaking at Dell's Technologies Conference. I'm not holding back. If you want to learn something about starting a program and having it student-centric, please tune in. 2K Pro-Am League with High School Esports League is free. I have a list of 2K players and coaches coming in to give Q&As and training sessions. If you're a student, if you're a mom or dad, uncle, cousin that knows a kid that plays 2K and they want to take it serious and they want to get to the next level, this is what this lead is about. It's about development and pushing the next generation of players through. And no Go Play Esports podcast at the moment. I don't have time. And I'm missing something, James, but I can't remember. Bradford, take it over, man.
Okay. I'm gonna say just what James said earlier. If you are implementing esports into your district, school, organization, wherever you're at, have a strategic plan put in place. Take the time to lay that out and make sure that it aligns with whatever mission and vision they have. Use those words that people understand. Break it down. Think about budget. Think about what year 1, year 2, year 3 looks like, so that people can understand it. And that's where the possible money can come in. But don't expect it to be given to you year 1, because you're not going to get it. If you get it, please let me know. My email address is not just kidding. But no, all of our Twitter handles are right here. So if you get money day 1, please let us know how you got it without a grant. And that's all I got. Have a great. Oh yeah, because I don't have the controls. So if
but you're driving the ship. Am I just going to hit end broadcast? Really? Say goodbye to everybody?
Well, no. I wasn't. If I had the controls, I was going to say good golf, good tennis, or whatever makes you happy. But you know,
Bradford, do you want to do a shout out of the company that made that computer that you're on?
Oh, the shout out! Oh, it is my daughter's Omen computer. I forgot the model, but it's the
HP
bomb.
In the house. HP in the house.
It's the bomb. I mean, you know, my son has a Legion, so I mean, you know, they're our family games. You know, I'm about to play Resident Evil Village in a couple minutes, so I mean,
sweet.
And that game is hard.
Knockout City, man. I'm addicted right now.
I love Knockout City, Chris. I'm gonna have to send you my Xbox.
Yeah, please. I'm like a level 77.
I'm like
I'm jealous.
0.
I need to do better.
Yeah.
But the game that I have to give up. By the way, I'm sorry. I'm gonna add one more thing. Assassin's Creed Valhalla added an Ireland. DLC. They partnered with Tourism Ireland. I literally went out, bought the game, and then bought the DLC just so I could get into this Ireland thing.
Their focus is to tour. Use it as like touring and learning and all that. I saw that on E3. I'm like, okay, I'm going to definitely play because I have that.
Assassin's Creed's great for that stuff.
I also bought the Stadia, so I'm going to go download Assassin's Creed. Well, I don't have to download it. I just hit.
No,
claim.
You don't. You just plug in and go.
Just plug in and go. Yeah. So I'll try it tonight.
All right.
Well, there's our plugs for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next week.